You can tell that Nolan didn't get to dance off with Chief Masters because that just changes up the game drastically. Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Owen here.
And this is episode 440. And back in the day, we used to wait for Kenny to make some kind of weird noise on every 0 and 5. Thank God we moved on.
That's done.
Yeah, we don't need
done and over. And now I just get excited whenever I want to get excited.
Question of the week. Which two games should have a crossover? Okay, two games that do not have a crossover that should.
So a good example of that would be Professor Layton and Ace Attorney.
Very good example.
Is that correct?
Yes, okay. And another good example would be Spyro and Crash.
Yeah, that happened.
And Spyro Orange for the GBA.
That's a bad example. That's a really.
It wasn't that the one where they crossed? No, was that not the one they crossed over? There is one that they crossed over. No, that is it. Is it Spyro Orange, something purple, Crash purple?
Yeah, but was it a true crossover in the sense that we're talking here? Maybe not. The game's trash.
Yeah,
is the joke here. The game's not. Don't play that game.
Don't play that one.
Okay.
I'm gonna go old school.
Okay. Go old school.
No, I went old school.
I didn't.
Did you? You won't say what I'm saying because my answer is just ridiculous. I want
Surprise.
Lemmings crossed over with Tetris.
Explain.
The pieces are the lemmings?
Lemmings, yeah, that I have to arrange into different
that are just
patterns.
Walking out of the positions you placed
them
in.
Yeah, but you can
brain.
figure out you can plan which piece is gonna fall based on a level or something. I don't know.
Nolan, do you think that that we're trying to figure out his brain, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that was the first thing that came to his mind somehow?
I think yes. Okay.
Or do you think he gave this some serious thought and that's what he ended up with? Both are bad.
I think
both are equally likely.
I think he gave it serious thought.
Yeah.
And he came to that. But I also think he's probably had this thought in the past.
You think? Okay.
I've been waiting. I've been sitting on the moment that someone's gonna make this game for me.
Nolan, give us a better one.
I don't know if it's it's better, but
it's not better.
It's newer.
The bar is low.
So, I would love to see Minecraft and Terraria have a crossover. They are in the same genre, survival builder kind of sandboxy game. And it would be cool to have the Terraria weapons in Minecraft, or in Terraria you would have... I can't decide if it would be first person or if it would be the Terraria 2D view. Probably first person.
I can't decide which is cooler. Terraria with Minecraft logic and ability to build complex cool things, or Minecraft with much cooler and better combat and...
It would probably
weapons
be
and stuff.
Terraria with the Minecraft, because there's a lot of Minecraft mods, and I'm sure there's a Terraria mod
that already kind of skin it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a skin. So I think that would be fun.
Mine was retro as well, and some might say these two are too close to have a crossover, but that sometimes makes the best kind of crossover. I think it would be cool for one of the classic Final Fantasies to cross over with one of the classic Dragon Warriors.
I'd play it.
Would
I'd
love
play it so hard
for Erdrick to be a part of a group of light warriors that were going after crystals. I don't know, some kind of blend there would be really fun.
I dare
nice.
A party of 4 warriors to kill one metal slime.
Okay. I thought you were going to dare Square or whoever, to do something. No, instead you dared fictional characters to do something.
Let me say this. That is a lot more probable than Final Fantasy crossing over with Disney characters. And we got that.
And that happened.
So
You're
maybe.
Right.
And was it a good thing to do? We'll never know.
No, we know it's good.
We don't know. We know.
We still don't know to this day.
While these crossovers might never happen, might be dead in the water, it's time to sink our teeth into something a tad more alive. Like in our retro game of the week, Stubbs the zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse.
Overview.
To begin, we would like to welcome Scoty to the episode, our newest director for New Game Plus. We're so glad you're here. Scoty, take a moment and introduce yourself to us and our community. How'd you find out about New Game Plus? How long have you been around? All of those things. Give us the deets.
Yo, what's up, guys? Scotty Clash here. I do a little bit of YouTube, but that doesn't matter. Anyways, I found out about New Game Plus about like 2 years ago, I'd probably say. It was like kind of when the pandemic, like a little bit like probably a year into it. And I'm actually like really excited for this because I've always wanted to do an episode. And yet, like, I'm like, should I do it? Should I not? And then I'm like, you know what? I probably should because I love these guys.
Well, we're happy to have you, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You could have picked any game, 15 years or older, and I believe in our discussions that you were debating between a few. Is that correct?
Ooh.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to reveal what those other ones are whenever, but...
Yeah, go ahead. What are some of the other...
What didn't make the cut?
Okay, so obviously you got Stubbs, which is the one I chose. And there were two. One that just became NGP eligible recently, Plants vs. Zombies. That was the one I was going to pick. That was the one I was going to pick because I know like how fun it is, and that's a huge one for me. And another one
also. Yeah,
and another one was because the remake is remaster, whatever you want to call it, of Dead Rising is coming out soon as well, and I was thinking of maybe choosing that too. Yeah, it's coming out in September.
So
I'm
you like
sensing a theme.
Yeah, there's a theme.
So how I got introduced to that is so like at the time I was not the biggest Call of Duty person. I know you guys aren't like the biggest fan of it, and I can totally get that. But there's something that drew me to one game mode for years since I was like 7, 8 years old. And I know a 7-year-old shouldn't be playing those games, but there's this mode called Zombies. And it was introduced in Call of Duty World at War. And there was just something about it that just kept me coming back every time. I'm not sure if you guys played Zombies before on Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah.
There's just something about it. And still to this day, I just keep going back to it nonstop, countless hours with friends, especially my brother. It just like we just keep going back and back. And that's what really got me into the zombie genre. And I've always had an attachment to it. I obviously still play other games, but like that's like the one thing that just keeps me coming back every time.
I'm glad that you're a fan of those types of games and not a representative of the undead. So
well, we don't know that, Kenny. Yeah,
I could be.
Want to share a little bit of NGP lore that I don't think that we've ever mentioned on the podcast that I was just telling my wife about because I don't know if she even knew. The first and only time that I've played the Call of Duty zombie version was at a LAN party that I and Nolan hosted. That we hosted 1 or 2 LAN parties back in the day, and had like I don't know, there were like 30 people there, 30 guys, girls that would come,
maybe more.
And we had another friend that would from the ceiling wired down LAN cables everywhere.
Dude, it was awesome. Yeah.
But that was the first and only time that because Call of Duty isn't my thing, but that was kind of fun trying to survive.
Yeah. So honestly,
same for me.
I honestly look at it as honestly like its own separate game because it's so different and it has its own like huge cult following. Like there's literally people that build YouTube channels literally discussing the topic. And then you got Black Ops 6 coming out that like even though it's probably not going to be the greatest game in the world, people are still going crazy over zombies because like apparently it's going to be like this big map, the biggest map they ever made, and just it's probably my favorite like game mode of all time. And it's probably good. I don't think anything's going to beat it, honestly.
Games within games and like custom mods of other games is totally a huge part of the game. Enough so that it starts franchises. Like it's a big deal. So I totally get it.
Yeah, it's crazy because speaking of mods, a lot of those mods, there's people that make their own custom zombie maps on some of the older games, and it's crazy how detailed they are. They're even better than some of the developer game maps.
Sure.
It's insane, and I play them constantly.
You told us the games that you didn't select, and then you told us your how you got your asphyxiation with the zombie subgenre. Why, if it's not already clear, did you pick Stubbs the Zombie and Rebel Without a Pulse as the game that we would play this last week?
So it's very funny. So that game, honestly, for the longest time, I did not know the name of it. I found a YouTube video. So I was actually searching up Call of Duty Zombies videos. And then for some reason, a video of this game pops up for no reason when I was 8, 9 years old. I'm like, this is weird. This is cartoony, zombie farting. It's what is this? And then I never found out the game of it. So I'm like, oh, I want to know the name of this game. In 5, 6 years passed by, I found another video on it, says the name. I picked it up at a video game store for I think the price was $16.99, and the rest is history.
Love it. Well, the game that we played for these last 7 days is of the undead variety, Stubbs the Zombie and Rebel Without a Pulse,
which is a game that was developed by Wideload and published by Aspyr Media. And guys, according to the box art, this game was built with the Halo engine.
Yeah.
That's
I could
huge.
feel it during the vehicle segments for sure.
Oh, the vehicle segments for sure. More than everything else to me.
That first thing that you jump in that's hovercrafting, floating around, and lobbing those guns, it was wait, this feels very familiar.
Yeah, it's just funny to me. You go ahead.
So basically, if you look at the physics of some of the enemies, let's just say when you use one of your abilities, some of those physics, I'm like, wait, are those Halo physics? I'm just
yes,
yeah, that's true.
They are.
It's crazy how it doesn't seem like they're similar, but they really are because of the same engine.
Well, it's just of all the games to promote that on, I just found it really funny that they were like, "Hey guys, Halo, Halo, play this game." As you could probably tell from the title, it's a zombie game, but this is a zombie game with a twist. Instead of killing zombies, you are making zombies by eating brains. And some have called this a reverse horror game, but to be honest, there's not a hint of horror in this game. It's more of an action sandbox game.
I mean, not a hint of horror. There's open skulls with brain and blood leaking out.
Yes,
but it's all about context.
Yeah, and they're there more for comedic effect here than they are for terror.
But what context is that not horrible?
When he farts right after he does that.
Quit saying that word 2 times on a podcast is too much.
Yeah,
we don't use the F word around here. But one of the things, you know what game this reminded me of from our backlog? No, you don't.
No.
Dungeon Keeper.
Oh.
Where we play so few games where you are the bad guy.
Yeah, that's true.
And
the bad guy.
Yes.
Wait, which game are you not the bad guy in? The one where you're literally eating humans' brains, or the one where you're Satan?
I don't know. This one, given those two choices.
Okay.
The dystopia feels real, not utopia. And
so it's a good thing? Wow.
Maybe we're saving them from themselves. I don't know.
Wow, no, Kenny. That's maybe we are, because the setup to the story is quite interesting. You are traversing the city of Punch Bowl, what's the joke there? Help me, because I was looking for the pun. I was looking for the reference.
I don't know.
Honestly, I never really took it as a joke. I never understood it. I just know that Punch Bowl is based, I believe, in Pennsylvania. I believe.
I know.
What? Oh,
yeah, it looks a lot like Pennsylvania. The floating cars, the robots.
All right.
Hey,
what?
It's gotta be drinking the Kool-Aid. It's got to be about the juice and everybody, because it's as Kenny already mentioned, it's not a utopia. This is a messed up society.
It's a messed up society. They flash an image
and they
of
drink out of the punch bowl. That's what
it
is.
They flash certain things that shouldn't be flashed in this day and age.
Yeah.
And I'll say that. I'll describe that more in aged. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, there is something.
Because it was cool back then.
Ooh, edgy. Ooh.
It's obviously a commentary on like fascism there, but it's a joke game. It's not like really trying to like say much, I don't think. But the city of Punch Bowl is what they believe a utopia. It's got the floating cars, it's got the robots. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Fallout interpretation of what
Infinite
America looks like. Oh yeah, BioShock Infinite. Yeah. However, it's run by bad people, and you're simply a zombie that's thrown into this city, this setting, and the goal of the game is to wreak havoc. Your favorite podcast has t-shirts now.
We've got two. One is Castlevania inspired, and the other is Portal inspired.
There are a limited amount of them, and they're really, really well done. Yeah. So you want to pick one up today if you haven't gotten yours yet.
ngppodcast.myshopify.com. Get yours while supplies last.
Gameplay.
I believe the game begins on the opening day of Punch Bowl, and you've got this cute couple that are out at a park sharing a hot dog together. But as the boyfriend leans over to feed his girlfriend, out of the ground breaks the rotted arm of our protagonist, our main character, Stubbs. And he eats the boyfriend's brains, turns him into a zombie, and then the fun begins, where somewhat, it's not open world, but somewhat open, where you're able to just kind of roam around, attack other civilians, and turn them into zombies, either by beating them to death or stunning them so that you can eat their brains. There's other ways that you can do that we'll talk about, while cops are showing up, at least in the first few stages, to try to mow you down. And that's basically what this game is, and there obviously are some nuances from stage to stage. You are finding non-zombies, we'll call them humans. You are turning them into zombies, and you are using them to progress to the end of that level.
Can we talk about Stubbs for just a second?
Of course.
The guy?
Because, yeah, the character. Because, like, he's
a lot.
He's a lot. He's got a lot of character. For a zombie, you would sort of expect something that's, droll or boring or just like... But he's dressed in this like old school kind of traveling salesman outfit, got a cigarette hanging from his mouth.
Lit.
Just
Still
sort of
lit,
shuffles around. He's like, he's a zombie. So like parts of him are rotting out, and you can kind of like see into his insides, which actually ends up having gameplay implications. And I don't know, it's just really interesting, the idea of sort of being the lead zombie. And again, he does a lot to kind of grow these zombie hordes and move them along towards their destination. Again, we'll get into those details more, but I didn't want to like a zombie is the thing.
Kenny likes Stubbs.
But he's kind of charming. Like, he's got a certain je ne sais something.
Quoi?
Possessed?
Finish it.
Scotty, did you have you also played the remake?
So you have the original release and you have the remake, and or re-release, however you want to interpret it. And I did play the re-release, and I gotta say, I did beat the game on the hardest difficulty, and I just wanted to rip my hair out, because it's probably one of the hardest games out there if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm very curious, like, what difficulty you all played on.
Normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very normal.
Yeah. So I do
same.
want to point out, this is like one of those games where, like, if you play on the easiest difficulty, it's very, very easy. But like once you start scaling up, the difficulty skyrockets like dramatically, and especially with some broken physics and stuff, it could actually lead you to actually die in the game, because you either can't control something, or you either just can't move where you want to. But I think that's part of the charm, honestly. And I died so many times.
How can you die if you're already dead?
Ooh.
Oh,
you're not dead. You're
real
undead,
question.
Actually. That's what a zombie is. They're undead. You can die.
You become re-dead, and it totally works. Don't think too hard
about it. The reason why I was asking, Scotty, if you would play that, because I might be wrong here, but I wanted to ask for clarification. My understanding is that there isn't really the backstory of Stubbs in the original game, unless it comes later, and in the re-release there is a little bit more there. So Kenny, you said that he's a traveling salesman. I believe the idea was, in the 1950s or whatever, he was a traveling salesman in the area. He went to the wrong person's door and they blew him away with a shotgun, and that's why he's got the hole in his side. Okay. Not that this adds anything. This is not a story-driven game by any means.
Well, I'm invested now.
There's a little bit more of a context to his
I now
character.
care more about him.
The thing I love about this game is that, like, once you go through the story and you learn, like, everything that happens, it's up to your interpretation. Is Stubbs really the bad guy?
Hey.
I don't think
that's
he
what
is.
Nolan was getting
I
at.
think he's... The thing that's so funny about the game is I feel like in the beginning especially, he's unintentionally causing chaos.
Yeah.
And
sure.
it's just and then that's the funny part.
It becomes pretty clear, though, even in the beginning, that yes, you are killing people. Yeah. And obviously, that's not a great thing.
Let's just period, because, like, if you're the one doing that, you're the bad guy.
No,
Can we just say that?
Yeah.
But the people that you're taking down a notch are Nazis.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Or relatives of.
Right. So I'm just saying they're trying to give you some justification so that you don't go to sleep at night having, guilt about what you did in this video game.
It's up to the interpretation.
Right off the bat, and I maybe mentioned it in the first play, but I was already getting like GTA vibes from how this game is set up. And I'm wondering if that's what they were going for. It's obviously light on that front, but the nature of setting you loose on a city and its citizens feels very familiar to like the GTA setup, which is more
I could see it.
Yeah,
more linear than like a GTA.
Much more.
But,
the
vibe is there.
Yeah. I actually kind of wish it was kind of more open, because I think the game would have been like, I wish there was like a sandbox mode, kind of like in the Destroy All Humans games, because I think it would add replayability value. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could have been limitations at the time, but I wish there was like a sandbox like game mode, because I always dreamed of that as a kid for this game. But I totally understand like the linearity of it.
Like a sandbox mode where the city's a lot more populated, a lot more live stuff going on. That could be really effective. But that's not what the game is. That's not what it was going for in this iteration. But just wanted to say that's what I was feeling.
Can we talk about how you go about doing what you are doing? Yep. So we said your main goal is to turn people into zombies and get to the end of each stage. But there are a variety of ways to turn people into zombies. Mentioned two of them. One, melee. You can just kind of beat people up. Yeah. And when they die, they'll turn into zombies. Another way is to eat their brains. You can stun them. But then you've got abilities that you get over the first few stages that then you can use to your own benefit. So I'll just mention one and then we can share some others, but like one of the ones that you get early on is a gut grenade. And that's just your it's not a sticky from Halo. I guess it would just be your normal grenade from Halo. This is an AoE bomb that you're able to throw out from your body. He takes a piece of his insides and chunks it at the enemy. And then I think you trigger it to explode. So maybe it is more like a sticky. I don't know.
Kind of. I mean, if it's came from your guts, it's probably sticky whether or not it should be.
That's true, Kenny. And they did say Halo on the box, so let's call it a sticky
The
grenade.
enemies that it takes out then will turn into zombies.
It's probably the ability that's probably spammed the most, because it's probably it doesn't take that much to charge, and it just I spammed that like throughout the gameplay because that was the only way I was able to get through certain levels because there were so many enemies.
Especially because the game overwhelms you quite often with guns,
Goodies.
with bullets,
Right.
which is really annoying in a game where you are melee most of the time. And so, that's
you said, Dustin, you said you got that early. It's not the first skill you get outside of shuffling around and hitting
I don't want to talk about
early
that
on. No,
one.
we don't need to dwell on it, but it's the game very early teaches you how to stun enemies that are close to you on a long cooldown, but a very powerful hit that goes very much in line with the humor and the tone of this game and kind of who it's catering to. And it's literally press F for flatulence. We're not paying respects in this case. We are instead releasing a cloud of gas. Yeah, they got the meme wrong, and so it doesn't quite work the same. And it stuns everyone around you. It's a very powerful move, and ew.
Another useful one that the game wants you to use, and I was like, I'm not going to do that, but you totally should. And it's not one of the like body abilities, but it is a mechanic where you can herd the zombies you've turned and have them follow you and sick them on people, which is very important.
That's not what you did?
No, I didn't want to do that.
That's like a key mechanic of this game.
Wait, hey,
it's
but you
so
don't
much
have
harder
to.
if you don't.
Right.
I know
you don't. I'm not about to run up on a bunch of people with guns without a whole horde of my brethren to hide behind.
Nolan went solo self-found mode.
If you,
I was going with the theme. Like, the theme is zombie horde, so I was making my army as big as possible, sending them out to be meat shields, very literally, and then I was going around and eating people's brains while they were fighting my zombie horde.
We got one mechanic that's in the game that's actually very useful with the zombie horde. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but actually, like, it does show in the beginning of the game where you can shove the zombie, and if you actually shove them in the right direction into an enemy, they actually automatically eat their brains, which actually can be very, very useful at times. And I've had to use it multiple times.
And if they're clumped up and you kind of shove one, it sort of moves the whole crowd.
Yeah.
So you can whistle to like bring them towards you.
Right, that's
and then
what I
you can
did.
get behind them and like shove them from behind to get the crowd to go where you want it to go. So it's basically a sheepdog simulator in a zombie skin.
You know what I have heard a lot of people comparing it to? Oh no, I just lost it. What's the one where you are collecting the little red, blue, and yellow alien things to help you out? Pikmin. I've heard it compared to Pikmin to some degree.
No.
Very lightly. But Nolan, if you did solo self-found mode, then you really needed to lean into the hand ability, which comes up a little bit later, because that is where you kind of leave your body behind, you chunk your hand, you're able to move like it's its own thing, like a drone, to find a body, a living body, and then you can possess that body, and then you can use their weapons, or you can holster your weapon and walk through a crowd of people and they won't do anything, they won't notice you.
Yep. I did end up going back to the herding thing because it's just too good to not use it. And I'm sure in hard mode, Scoty, that's like all you do. Like managing that is like the thing.
Especially in the later game. So like it's probably like the last 4 levels. The military you actually start dealing with, and there's a lot of enemies, especially snipers, that do so much damage where you literally have no choice but to hide and use that ability.
Snipers?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's
hiding in the crowd.
I'd be possessing those snipers and then sniping
like
everybody else.
Yeah, there's 2 different snipers. There's like one that's part of the militia that you encounter in the middle of the game, and then you have the military snipers, which I think are way more deadly.
There's one more ability we didn't talk about. It's the sputum. I don't really know how to use that word or say that word because I don't use it ever. But a sputum head, and it's where you bowling ball your head, and you can direct it as it rolls, and it explodes. So it's just a more powerful gut grenade kind of, that you can direct a little bit more. So you use those abilities to again, you get through. Really, it's just get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And you might have to open a door or whatever, but for the most part, there's not like a quest log. You're not like accomplishing certain tasks as far.
I mean, there's some story that sort of happens. You get these little cutscenes every once in a while, and the things that are happening to you, obviously are kind of story-ish. But you're right, it's not like there's a ton of. It's just action.
Y'all are being
you're out
nice.
there just zombieing.
Let me say this: it's insanely repetitive.
It can be.
I kept thinking it would change something up to keep it fresh, add maybe some
vehicles.
Sort of different puzzle. Yeah, like let me eat something else,
No, don't eat vehicles. You can drive vehicles.
Yeah, let me
That's
eat the
what
car
shit on the menu besides brains.
And then the vehicles, but like outside of that, you're doing that for the majority of what I played. And when you have stages that some of them are pretty big, but kind of feel a little empty at times.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Felt, or if it was felt for me.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that like throughout some of the levels. But again, you also need to take into account like the hardware limitations and all that. Like I think like I'm not saying like a remake, but like if a modern take of this game was to like be developed, like I think there's a lot of potential there, honestly.
Certainly.
You can tell that Nolan didn't get to dance off with Chief Masters because that just changes up the game drastically. Nolan, I cannot even express to you that you go into the Simon Says kind of dance battle against a small police officer, and they play like hit song or like it's covers of hit songs, and it's long, but it's amazing. I
take back what I said.
Yeah.
That's the variety I'm looking for.
I actually want to get into the music about. So they actually had their own Pitchfork review, I believe. Like they had their own like album and everything like dedicated to this game. I know it's weird, but I'm serious. Search it up right now. Unfortunately, in the re-release, a lot of the songs, especially in the main menu screen. So on the original Xbox version of the game, there's like those hit songs playing. But a lot of them got cut due to licensing issues in the re-release, which is unfortunate.
I bet they didn't even have it to begin with.
Exactly. I think they just put it out, and no one said anything. They were like, no one's going to play this.
Right. All right.
They may not have, but yeah, these were some big titles that made its way into the soundtrack. So I'm not surprised that they had licensing issues.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring up one of the kind of key mechanics that I really didn't like and didn't vibe with, and I would like to hear if it bothered y'all, and I'd love to hear if I'm just missing it here, especially from you, Scoty. But like the whole damage mechanic felt off to me and felt so contradictory to what the game is trying to get you to do. So you've got a health meter.
Yeah.
And when you get hit by bullets, obviously your health meter goes down. And if you deplete your health meter, you die. So you don't want to do that. So after you take a certain amount of damage, the only way to heal yourself up is to not get hit again, meaning that you are stopping forward progress and you are hiding behind a building or a beam or a car. You're hiding for too long of time and to get your health back. It just felt bad, and I was doing that quite often, and I just wish there was some kind of mechanic that tethered the brains that you were eating, your actual food, to your health replenishing mechanic, but there was no relationship there.
Or something.
I totally get where you're coming from, because there were times, especially because I was playing on the hardest difficulty, I was waiting for certain enemies to get in certain positions, because if I was to go out
there... Did you play on the hardest difficulty?
Yeah, insane. And I beat the game to my insanity. No pun intended. And the thing, the thing is, like, it feels like I'm just hiding a lot, I'll admit that, and I'm just waiting for enemies to get in position, because I know if I just walk out there, they're just going to kill me, basically. So, like, I wait for... It is a mechanic that is annoying at times, and I do wish there was like health pickups or like something that would help you aid on your way.
part of me likes that strategy aspect of like finding the cover, maneuvering your team, waiting when needed, but it was completely balanced in the wrong direction in terms of like, yeah, you do feel like
it could have just started a little faster. The respawn. Like you're a zombie, you can regenerate yourself, but I agree there was a little bit of forced downtime.
I mean, we're talking Halo comparisons here. Just give him the speed of that the shield recharge in that game.
That overshield. Stubbs remembers at least a little bit what it means to be human. Clearly, he's hopping in vehicles, driving them around. Did you guys have a favorite vehicle that you drove?
No.
I loved just that like very first one. It was great.
Well, you don't even know the name of the Sod-O-mobile, so I don't want to hear that it's your favorite.
The Sod-O-mobile.
Yeah.
The
Sods.
The vehicles were fun because they were extremely loose, which I find fun because you could flip. You do like 360s, you can do gainers. Like it was quite insane.
That's the vibe.
Yeah.
It's just like craziness all over the map.
It reminded me how bad Halo 1's vehicles were. Halo 2 made it much
Halo
better.
2 way better, but yeah.
These vehicles just feel like, so flighty.
Yeah, at the end of the game, especially, even though it's very brief, you actually have, I think, like about 2 opportunities where you could actually control an army tank.
Is it slower, at least?
It is slow. Like it's not as hard to control as the actual vehicles, and it's fun to use. I just wish like there was more time with it, honestly.
Yeah, and the other issue I have with the vehicle section is that it's just there. Like there's no it also feels even emptier than the walking sections to me. It's like, you're gonna just drive over and kill everything with no question or no like hazard, It's just there to be silly.
I'm gonna bring this up because y'all are gonna give me a hard time for saying, all games need quests or quest logs or whatever. I don't think it necessarily needs a quest log, but listen, you're saying that like it's just kind of meaningless fun, which I think is what this game is trying to be. So
which
success,
there's nothing
I guess.
wrong with.
But what I just wish is that, and I'll relate it to Pikmin one more time. It doesn't have to. You don't have to have different zombies that do different things. But I wish that it dove a little bit deeper into that mechanic, where there was more to do with the zombies than just use them as meat shields. And I know they're brainless, right? So maybe you can't do much. But if you were able to use them to do other things, and I don't even know what those things are, but or to break them up. I don't know. If there was a little bit more leaning into that mechanic and utilizing them like Pikmin, then I think there could have been something there. Instead, they just chose, hey, let's have fun chaos. That's fine too, but maybe not what I prefer as much as like a more of a tactical approach. There wasn't much tactics.
Like strategy or
sure.
This one's
even
just
light.
Sort of wild, jump in, go to town fun, and you wanted a little bit more like thinking in depth, and I get that.
Aged.
I do want to talk about the success of the game or lack thereof because I don't know. This was Xbox One, which is
Xbox One?
Xbox.
Yeah, you can't say that.
Number one.
They've got
the worst naming.
They
got the
do.
worst naming.
The Xbox Series X. That's
the
bad.
/S. That you weren't done.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. The /S.
No, it's awful.
Okay. The Xbox was my least favorite console. So I don't have a ton of experience with the catalog, and I obviously had never heard of this. Also on PC, which makes sense because of the Microsoft link there. A lot of games came out on PC that were on Xbox. Was this game well received? Because it got a remake or a remaster. Like we keep talking about that. So somebody had to have liked it.
Yeah, fairly well received in its day. I do think there were a couple of technical hurdles on this game that had some implications for what it was available on and for how long. There were actually a couple of times it got released and then like pulled on different consoles and re-releases, but generally came out, and for the most part, people were like, this is pretty fun.
Well, because Scoty even found out about it through, through COD, which was obviously.
Well, through the YouTube
I
algorithm,
don't know
knowing
how.
exactly who he is.
I'm still questioning to this day how that popped up. I
was just Google
just gotta
prying
believe in
into your
God.
interests. Yeah.
It's shocking to me that it was received so well.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah.
I think on the Xbox in particular, I think the PC version maybe not as much, maybe more average reviews, but still not bad. The game was perceived, I'm reading here, as painfully short and linear, but never boring, which I don't know if that's true. Nice variety. But one of the things that was remarked on was obviously the sound design, the soundtrack, and the voice acting, which the voice acting is over the top. The voice acting is cheesy, but it works. And I thought, especially the commercials that you see, the other characters, I thought that was fun.
The robots and how ridiculous they are. Well done.
And on that,
and
on the voice acting note, the humor along with that, towards the beginning, actually, when you make your first kill, you turn your first zombie, the cops, you get in trouble with the cops, and they're like, all right, son, we're gonna turn our backs and trust you to get in the car for us.
Get in the car.
And then you obviously eat both of their brains with their backs turned. That was pretty funny, and that continues throughout the whole game. And that voice acting, I agree. I think it's spot on for what they're going for.
You have to, though, which is ridiculous to me. I wanted there to be the option to just get in the car, and then it's like, well, you're off to prison, game over. Yeah. And they didn't take that bait. I tried really hard to get in the car just to see what would happen.
Of course you did.
They didn't allow it, which is so annoying. Not just the sound effects and voices were good. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but there were some really well-known songs that got covers custom written by some up and coming indie artists for this, for some of whom became big and known.
Red Hot Chili
Who got
Peppers?
their start at Stubbs?
I don't know if it's their start, but Death Cab got big.
Death Cab for Cutie was in this game?
Stubbs the zombie.
Yeah, or no, let me see. Yes, Death Cab for Cutie did a cover of the song Earth Angel, and it's in this game.
They did.
That was Death Cab for Cutie?
They did.
Yeah.
And there's not one other name on here you'll know, Dustin, so I'm surprised they did
the rest of them, I was like, anybody else get popular?
The Flaming Lips!
Well, the Flaming Lips?
Them. You might.
Wait, of course they did it, but they were already big. The Dandy
this game
Warhols.
did it! This game did it!
The Dandy
Regardless, 2005 Computer Game Magazine Best Soundtrack Award.
Wow.
Really?
Well, but my complaint is I feel like I didn't hear much music.
Same.
I only heard these songs in that dance battle or on the start screen.
Yeah,
Why is that the case?
That I did notice that as well, and I also wanted to point this out before I get into the music. But it was actually, I think the composer was the same person who did Halo, I believe. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think he did the soundtrack.
The composer on here is Michael Salvatore.
Yeah, or is that? I don't know. I don't know. I heard his name before.
He worked at Bungie.
Yeah, soundtrack for the Halo game series, Destiny.
A lot of Bungie developers actually worked on this game, surprisingly.
What?
I know, it's
This
insane.
was a side quest for them.
It was.
Huh. That is crazy. But does make a little more sense how and why they would have put together a full-on soundtrack of covers with Death Cab and with the Flaming Lips, just because that makes more sense to me that the Bungie composer was behind that than just randomly this game of all games did something like this. This was intentional, but should it have been done? Don't know.
No wonder there was a dance battle. They needed to get all the music. They needed to really focus on the music for a little bit. Oh my goodness. We've talked about it all. Well, graphics, right? I think they work. They age, but even the remake, or again, we keep calling it remake, but whatever the remaster is still aged. None of it looks great, but it all works,
they didn't
right,
tweak it
for
too
what
much,
it's trying to be.
Which I think is sometimes better than over tweaking and changing things too much. The original, I'll speak to the Xbox and the PC version. I think represent that time very well. So yes, it's aged, but in a way that's like you can tell this was starting to become innovative.
Yeah.
Like we're moved on from like the bad 3D era of consoles, and we're moving on to something that's like, whoa, this is so impressive, this is crazy. And that was like a big thing the Xbox was pushing, was its graphics at the time. And so I mean, the 3D rendering, it looks pretty solid, but what's noticeable to me is the environment
Yes.
being a little empty and a bit flat. And
Yeah.
also some areas have this like color grading or lack thereof that makes it look very gray and washed out. And I would say that's intentional, but why'd you do that? That looks bad. Okay, we're zombie. We see gray, or not gray, but we just see things differently. But I felt it could have been a little more vibrant.
I do want to point out that there is in the remake that there is like a filter option where like, so you'll see that there's film grain like in the game.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
And
I like that.
You could actually turn that off, which I did, and it actually makes the colors pop a lot more.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. You'll see like the side by side comparison, and it looks like the completely different colors, and it's really cool. Actually, I actually prefer it that way than with the film grain.
Yeah, they were going for that 1950s retro futuristic aesthetic, and it makes sense to have the film grain option there. But I get choosing to turn it off if what you're wanting is a little bit more vibrant. I agree. No, I think it works here. The look accomplishes what they want. I agree. A little bit more love could have been spent on some of the environments. A little bit just sort of generic and bland, but that's more in the background.
Yeah,
the like actiony pieces of what you're doing, your character, kind of the primary things overall look relatively good.
The remastered version came out in 2021, not even too long ago. There couldn't have been a big enough audience for this for them to think, hey, we need to remaster this thing.
Apparently they were planning to do a sequel.
Or maybe they were just like, hey, Scotty loves this game.
I'm the entire audience.
Scotty.
I'm the entire audience.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Scotty will love this.
But it's for the PC, the Switch, all the modern consoles. Like
Xbox Series X/S.
Yeah, it's available. If you do want to play the original version, Steam and GOG both have them. Now, they're for $20, except the amazing thing is, and this is GOG, I'm not even joking on this one. I believe they did it for our community. This week, it's 80% off. So it's $3.99.
Wait,
seriously,
that's confirmation.
When we pulled this, well, GOG we have a relationship.
We have a relationship with, right?
When we pulled this game, before GOG knew, it was at $20, and then this last week and this next week until the 21st, so you only have a few more days, is down 80%. So you can get it for $3.99 on GOG right now, which is about the lowest.
So cheap, and it doesn't get easier than the way GOG gives you games. Like you hop on there, you pay for it, download it, play it. It works flawlessly. Like they're great, and
thanks to GOG,
we love them.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because this game, like before it got re-released, it was very hard to find. Like it became one of those rare games on the Xbox. I actually, at the peak of when COVID first started, I actually sold the game for $105.
Hey.
And
cashed out. That's a good deal.
And how luckily that the game re-released a year later, and it actually inspired me to do what I'm doing now. And I actually resold the game to somebody out that's a fan of the podcast. I believe his name is Sam's Club Hot Dog. I sold him Castlevania. Yeah. I sold him Castlevania: The Dracula X Chronicles on PSP.
Yeah, just a normal person.
That was the hot dog at the beginning of the game?
Look, I could be your worst enemy or best friend when it comes to that stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah, nice. You cashed out.
If you want a copy for your Xbox or your PC, it's going to run around $21 used or loose. So you made a lot more money than that, or $129 new.
Nice.
New still up there. PC's a little bit cheaper than that. You can get it for just $30 something, but Xbox a little bit more pricey.
Good luck installing it on your modern PC.
Right, or $3.99.
Actually, you might be able to. This one was getting into the territory where you can still install it.
Final thoughts.
the end of each and every episode, we give our final summarized thoughts on the retro game of the week. I'll begin by saying I think that our summer of weird is becoming a year of weird, and I'm scared. We are continuing with the theme of the summer, even though the pool party has been complete. This is a weird game, and I can say there's very little like it. Maybe nothing like it, although we made a few references here and there. I love the concept of playing as the bad guy, or playing as the anti-hero, whatever, playing as the villain. And that was intriguing here. I don't have this affection for zombies that Scoty does. And especially some of the humor here is too immature for me. Stinky, we'll say. But there were some fun moments. I do feel the pains that Nolan had referenced, that it kind of gets redundant, and some of the environments are empty and open and maybe a little bit too large, in my opinion, for what is actually in there. And I wish that the zombies could be used a lot more effectively rather than just throwing them at the enemy. But there is... What I do respect here is that there are a variety of ways that you can complete certain areas. You might not even notice, but in a lot of inside areas, there are vents. And so you can throw your hand and go in those vents to find something or someone to take possession of. Or you can just run head in by yourself like Nolan, or with a zombie horde. So there's some variety here, but I did feel that a lot of it was just kind of same. And if there were a little bit more the utilization of your zombies and a little bit more tasks that could be completed, or if there were some kind of collectibles to some degree. I don't ever want, like, hey, give me more collectibles, but there wasn't anything in the world. Yeah. And if there were some collectibles that could, I don't know, power you up or could refill your health or something, could have made the game a little bit more enjoyable. So I think it's definitely an interesting title. I'm glad we played it. But it's just kind of just missing what I think could have made it a really, really interesting title.
You wanted a brain counter.
A brain counter?
Yeah.
Eat this many brains by the end of the stage?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what a brain counter is, for those of you that just didn't instantly click there. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. Kenny, what about you?
Yeah, I think I echo some of your sentiment. I don't know that my overall outlook is quite as negative. I know you had a little bit more nuance there, but like I generally felt like this was a fairly enjoyable experience. It's not a genre I like, and I still found myself having moments where I was having fun, which means they're doing something that's enjoyable. Again, I'd rather just not like thematically spend my day eating brains. I don't know that I'm even as into the like I'm the bad guy as a trope that you think is fun, but regardless, it knew what it was trying to be. It knew its humor. It wasn't trying to be too complex. It's just a straightforward, simple little game of running around, causing chaos. That's not going to work for everybody, but it will work for some people. And if you're some people, then you'll probably enjoy this game. So have a little bit of self-awareness going into it, because it's not for everybody. But it was better than I think I expected it to be, though I didn't come in with super high expectations. So I don't know. All of that with a grain of salt. Nolan, what do you think?
It's not for me, that's for sure. My biggest issue, I think, that I had throughout the week was the repetition. The first few reps of the game, yeah, they're silly, yeah, they're out there, but they are fun. It is meant to be a like nonsense-ridden, just sandbox zombie fest, and puts you in the driver's seat of it flips it. I think that's novel. I think it's a great idea. I love the setup. But I'm like Dustin. I would just wish there was a little bit more complexity here, just a little bit more. Doesn't have to be a lot. Games can exist and should exist for just being all out fun. No, it doesn't have to get deep in order to be good. However, I just felt it this week playing it. The emptiness, I guess I'll call it. So it's not for me, and that's where I'll stop talking about it.
Well, good, because it is for Scoty. Scoty, give us your final thoughts on Stubbs the Zombie and Rebel without a pulse.
Okay, so I just want to first start off that there actually is collectibles. It's just that it's not really like shown like exactly where they are, but basically there's these hippo heads that are around, and when you collect them, your screen will flash pink, and it'll actually give designer commentary about the game, about certain levels.
So, at least in the original, my understanding was that those are only available after you beat the game the first time.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
I actually did not know that, shockingly. But besides the point, I did go into this week, especially after watching Nolan's first play, that this game's not... No, and I actually understand where you're coming from, because this game is not going to be for everyone. Like, it depends on what your humor is, like what you find enjoyable, and like the certain type of game you want to play. Like, do you want a heavy story-based game, or do you just want a fun... Like, I love story too, but besides the point. Gameplay, that's basically what this game is. The story isn't really anything special. I love it for obviously personal reasons, but it's more gameplay style than anything. And there are glaring issues about this game. This game's not perfect whatsoever, and I'll admit that right now. Especially with some points where your AI zombies just stop following you as a whole, and that's annoyed me a lot, because like you need them especially for certain sections of the game. And it's just, I want to see a modern take on it. I'm not saying remake the game. I actually don't want that, but I would like to see like a modern take of like, that's not necessarily a zombie game, but like a concept where you start building this army from defeating your enemies, and like you use that army to scale and just go through levels, or like, I don't know how to fully describe it, but I just want to see that concept modernized, because there's not really any games that do that. There's only like 2 that I know of. I don't know the names on top of my head, but they're not like huge games.
No, it's a really cool concept for sure. I totally understand being like, I could do more of this.
Yeah.
You're not alone, Scoty. There were a considerable amount of people that enjoyed the game this week. On YouTube, our poll, 19% said yes, it's worth playing today. 4% said no, but yeah, 77% had never played it before. So you introduced this game to a lot of people, including many from our community. A lot of people played along. A lot of people wrote in, and I grabbed a good sample. And again, listen to some of these. Antonin played along and wrote in, by the way. Antonin,
yeah. What's
it's been a while.
Hey.
Antonin said, I remember seeing this game in a gaming magazine back when it came out, and I've always wanted to play it. So when I saw that it was the game of the week, I had to jump in. It did not disappoint in anything at all. I even turned on sound for this one. Which,
Oh yeah, he plays
know,
games without audio.
He does.
Unacceptable.
He said, I'm not big into zombies. I'm not big on the 50s and retro futurism. And I'm not big on blood and gore. But Stubbs won me over easily. This game was just fun. Stubbs was fun to control, and you could really tackle a level however you wanted. You could eat your way through, play the game like an FPS, or play the game stealthily, picking off people one at a time. Honestly, 10 out of 10 fun game.
I do want to quickly agree with Antonin about the handling. I thought the handling of Stubbs was excellent. It felt very zombie, like stumbling around, like you can get turned around weird ways. His jump is hilarious. So I agree with that.
Gamer Guy 7700 said, just finished the game, and I loved every minute of it. The humor and the simple but fun gameplay hooked me. I thought it did feel a lot like Halo to control, particularly while driving vehicles. The Jeeps and tanks handled just like warthogs and scorpions, which I loved. One disappointing thing that stood out to me was the lack of secrets or Easter eggs or collectibles in the game. Perhaps I just didn't find them? I wish the devs of Stubbs had implemented some sort of collectibles and unlockables to make the levels more interesting and to add some more substance. NGP, and I demand a sequel.
Wow. What would the pun be of that one?
Ooh, we don't know how it ended, Scotty. Does it set itself up for what could be a sequel?
See, that's the issue with the game. No, I can't really say it.
You tried.
I would say no, but I can see how people would interpret it as a sequel. And again,
you could always you could always do the same game in another setting. So you could do a sequel that was a spiritual successor with a different zombie in a different location.
Nolan just thought of it.
Feast of Eden.
Stubbs in the Roman times.
Feast of Eden on the water. On the waterfront would be the format, but I don't know what I would call it.
Scotty just came out with Stubbs through time. That's okay.
Well, the Roman
Shane said, I've mentioned FPS brain fog in here before with BioShock, and this game triggers it as well, even if it's not really an FPS. Had some funny thoughts at the start of it being like Pikmin, but that similarity is minimal at most. Don't need the other zombies to do anything other than serve as distractions, though more there perhaps would have been neat. This game also suffers from the issue some FPS games at the time had of waiting to recover being antithetical to its game loop. The game should be encouraging me to get in there and eat brains, but instead I find myself hiding behind a corner waiting for HP to recover to not die. And be sent back further than I felt reasonable. The dance battle definitely showed me that some of the charm this game has to offer, and the stuff in between isn't engaging me enough to stick through it. So no NGP for me.
Interesting to see the spectrum of enjoyment there, because some people are like, "Oh, I love this," and then others fell in art, and more of my camp where it was like empty-ish.
Mixed bag on this one for sure, but that doesn't surprise me given the nature of the game.
And I do think there's an argument for games that are just fun, meaning that there's not, I don't know, because that's also contrary to what I'm saying about needing tasks or other things to do with the zombies. But hey, there are games for that. I'll read one more. Cecil said, this feels like a definitive cult classic game, a middle shelf entry that would rarely get a second look in passing, but it can be easy to bounce off of after a first play if it doesn't immediately sink its hooks into you. Come on, say sink its teeth into you. But there's something there for the rarely served villain protagonist market you don't see outside of games like Destroy All Humans. The retro future look is a strong theme. The music is great when it actually plays, and the core mechanics are definitely fun enough to start, although the zombie horde / infestation mechanic was one that felt underdone. It's not for me, and I don't think it's an everyone must play this hidden gem, but its humor and novelty do at least earn it a cult classic status.
It reminded me so much of that era. Like this, just like my friend Greg, we go to his house, we play Guitar Hero, and I could see this being the follow-up game. It wasn't, but it's in that category.
How shocked would your friend Greg be to know how often you talk about him on a podcast weekly?
He would be shocked. He'd be like, "Yeah, dude, that was sick." That's all he would say.
Thank you, Scotty, for bringing Stubbs the Zombie and Rebel Without a Pulse to us and our community this week. We are going to set it aside, however, and randomly select the next game from our Retro Master list. Out of the thousands of games there, we are randomly selecting to see if this year of weird continues.
Please no.
Randomizing now. Nolan, you like platformers?
I love platformers.
Nolan, you like the Sega Genesis?
I love the Sega Genesis.
Were there any the Genesis too?
Nolan, you do exclusively. Nolan, were there any good platformers on the Sega Genesis? Probably not.
Nope.
Absolutely are some good.
Kenny, you don't know. This game was developed by Eurocom and published by Virgins.
Really? Probably true.
Virgin Interactive.
True.
Okay.
The game was released in 1995 and is, Kenny, a sequel to a game we played on the podcast.
Okay, this is perfect.
I like sequels. Hey.
This game has you controlling a famous mascot from a soft drink as he travels to various places trying to free his friends. We are once again returning to the world of Spot, and the game is called Spot Goes to Hollywood.
There's a second one? There's a second one?
There's a second one, and Scotty's excited?
So I'll be honest with you guys. The most entertaining the most entertaining episodes for me is when you play bad games. So I'm actually all for it.
Oh, you think? Oh no.
Oh,
is this about
and for your opinion for Stubbs, I might have to start putting in bad games in the Patreon polls more.
Oh no.
No.
I'll be the villain of the podcast. I'll be the villain of the podcast.
I love Stubbs barbecue.
Stubbs is our favorite game.
I had no idea this game would have a sequel.
Of course.
And,
we wouldn't think that.
Now I'm going to want to drink 7-Up all week.
It's bad for you.
They don't sell that anymore, unfortunately. Find a copy.
Do they not?
They do.
Oh.
Don't just believe me.
He was like, "Oh,
you're
man."
on the internet and you said something, so it's true.
He's like, oh no, 7-Up's gone.
I'll never drink it again.
Find a copy. Play it along with us this week. Spot Goes to Hollywood.
Okay. By the way, we can't do the Hollywood movie thing back to back too, because Rebel Without a Cause.
That was a B. That was not a Hollywood produced film.
Absolutely,
that would have been
it was huge. Anyways, Discord. Yeah, we have a Discord, and we want you to be there. Discord.gg/newgameplus.
I want to say a shout out to those of you who support us on Patreon.com, including, first and foremost, of course, our director level supporters, Bro Jim, Super Hyper, Siegfried, and this week especially, Scoty. Thank you for hopping on the show. Thank you for your support. Thank you for talking about a game and bringing a fun one from your history. We appreciate it. We also want to say thank you to our newest patron level supporter, Philip. I'm sorry. He's not our newest. Philip has upped his contribution. He was already here, but thank you, Philip, for bumping up to the next level. We also want to say a shout out to our producer level supporters as well, including Alex, alias X, Marlin, Antonin, Arlen, Yuki, Ben, Craig, Dustin's 5 o'clock Shadow, Garlale, Guardian, Kate, Hallex, Harold, Hey Brother, Jay, Robert, Jake, Jordan, Joey, Justified, Justin, Clint, Levi, Marcus, Maxima, Megatroid, Miss Muso, Not Enough Dog, Retro Man, Sajan, Sasser, Shane, Shauna, Snigmatic, Stephen Fox, Psycho Mantis, Tins, The Kentucky Kid, Thomas Turtle, Unbedavable, and Zion. Your support means the world to us.
Dankeschön. You can follow us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, not Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Scotty, if you would like to, you can share with our audience where they can find you on the internet.
Well, I have Instagram. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. I don't remember. YouTube.
Search Scoty on Instagram.
Yes. YouTube is Scoty Clash. It's basically the same way it's spelled. That's pretty much the social media I can think of right now. But yeah, if you guys want to find me, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Our episode artwork was created by Dave, video episode edited by Dylan, audio episode edited and produced by Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Spot Goes to Hollywood. Until then, I am still
brains.
I'm James Dean.
And who are you?
I'm the villain of the podcast.
Oh no. And this has been New Brains Plus.